Imagine it is October 2021, and you are rushed to hospital in Glasgow, Scotland, with a horrible case of COVID. Your wife is extremely upset, and you've only been married for 2 years. She is your rock, she is your everything, and she has always been there for you. But you finally pull through, and you go home, although you are wheelchair-bound and have to have oxygen. Then in December of that year, just shortly after you're released from the hospital, the authorities come and arrest you, claiming you are somebody you've never even heard of. They keep telling you that you are this evil grapist who has committed grapes all over the United States of America. You have never even been to America. You're from Northern Ireland. And you keep telling them your real name.
I am off married. This is a case of mistaken identity.
So who is this Nicholas Rossi or Nicholas Alverdian or whoever this guy goes by as one of his 16 aliases? And why do they think that you are him? Well, for one, when you were in the hospital, the nurses recognized your tattoos. But you don't have tattoos. And they also took your fingerprints. Is that illegal? You didn't give authority for that. And this guy, Nick, died a year ago. His wife buried him. Okay, let's back up. Who the hell is this Nick guy anyway? Nick was born Nicholas Alverdian on July 11th, 1987 to Diane and Jack Alverdian in Rhode Island. His sister and brother soon followed. Most accounts say that both his parents were abusive and alcoholics. His mother left his father and then married David Rossi, and thus Nick became Nicholas Rossi. But things at home did not get any better. By the age of 12, Nick was in foster care. Nick bounced around from home to home. But then a judge decided to give Nick a great opportunity. He became a page and then a legislative aide at the Rhode Island State House. His work ethic and brilliance were extraordinary. Based on his history of abuse in the foster care system, he became a vocal critic of the state's child welfare agency. He testified before state lawmakers about alleged abuse that he had experienced. He stated he had been raped, beaten, and tortured while he was in the foster care system. Despite all of this, including his childhood, it appeared Nick was doing pretty well for himself, but few knew who he really was. In late January 2008, the 20-year-old Nick was going to college in Ohio. Mary was a fellow student, and she had communicated with Nick on MySpace, but had never met him in person until this day. Although she was a bit creeped out by him, it was the middle of the day, so she did not think there would be any harm in letting him walk her to class. According to Mary, when they reached a stairwell, Nick pushed her up against the wall. He exposed himself and began to pleasure himself despite her protests. Mary went to the police and reported the assault. Nick claimed Mary had been the aggressor, but Mary was unaware that there had actually been another assault just 2 weeks prior. In early January 2008, Nick had invited 19-year-old Megan to his apartment. The young girl had no idea what she had just walked into. Nick exposed himself yet again and pleasured himself several times while he held her by the wrists. Megan did report the incident to police, but a few days later decided not to go forward. Megan later said it was because the detective had told her it would be a difficult case with no penetration. Nick was immediately charged and convicted of the assault on Mary. Nick received a slap on the wrist with a fine, suspended jail time, and a requirement to register as a sex offender. However, he did not have to register until 2012 after he had exhausted his appeals. Nick seemed to be tired of Ohio and soon made his way to Utah. But Nick's ways did not change. In September 2008, he raped a former girlfriend. Then in December 2008, he raped another former girlfriend after an argument. But Nick decided it was time for revenge. In 2009, he filed a civil lawsuit against Mary. He claimed slander and defamation resulting in emotional distress. He lost. Nick also filed a lawsuit against numerous attorneys, judges, the city, the college, and the state. He lost those as well. By July of 2010, Nick was back in Rhode Island. That same month, a woman filed a complaint against Nick, stating he had lured her to his apartment, saying it was an art studio. He had blocked the door and took her cell phone. He only let her go when she started screaming. December of that same year, another accusation was made against Nick. The woman said Nick would not let her leave his apartment. He only let her go after forcing her to pay $200 to him and making a video that stated that she could not pursue legal action and that the money was for his therapy due to her violent actions and her sexual addiction. What is even more shocking is that just the month prior, on November 5th, 2010, at the age of 23, Nick had gotten married. Nick's new bride seemed to figure out who he was pretty quickly, as just 6 months later, she filed for divorce. She told the court she wanted the divorce due to Nick's terrifying, unexpected, controlling nature. She obtained a restraining order, but that did not stop Nick's abuse, and he was finally arrested in spring of 2011 due to his harassment of her. In 2011, he was also back in court, but this time as the plaintiff. Nick was suing the Rhode Island Department of Children, Youth, and Families for the alleged abuse he had incurred when he was in the foster care system. He also sued the former governor and a former family court chief judge. He got a settlement to remove the lien for over $200,000 he had in medical bills. There has never been any evidence that Nick was ever abused, but actually that Nick was the one who was abusing other children. Nick had a very busy 2011. On a request for a new trial, Nick presented to the court a hard copy of an alleged MySpace post that Mary, his victim, had written. The state's forensic computer analyst, Detective Roderick, determined with 90% certainty that the post had been altered or was completely fabricated. Nick was denied a retrial. True to fashion, Nick filed yet another appeal, which was denied. With his appeals exhausted, Nick should have been a registered sex offender at this point. But Nick, who didn't think rules applied to him, never did register. He began to give legal advice for a man's voice, although he had no law degree and no qualifications. He referred to himself as an incel. Nick continued to have run-ins with the law, and even got married and divorced again after 7 months. But in February of 2020, Nick died. Nick's family anonymously testified to news outlets, and his obituary was published. Unaware of his rampage of assaults and crimes, his prior constituents praised him for his work for the foster care system, and even had a moment of silence. But many people who knew Nick did not believe he was actually dead. His final words were, "Fear not, and run toward the bliss of the sun." The obituary also said that the song for the end credits for the 1997 film Contact was playing as Nick peacefully passed. Now it is 2021, and you are being accused of being this Nick Rossi. You are Arthur Knight, and your wife is Miranda Knight.
I am Arthur Knight. He already died, and we are terrified.
Your wife stands beside you. She is your support. She comes to every court hearing. You fight this injustice for 3 years. Who cares if you have all the DNA and the fingerprints that match as well as the tattoos? At your hearings in Utah, you still know who you are.
July 11th, 1987.
No, lady, it's 22nd of November, 1986.
Eventually, though, the evidence is too much and you have to admit that you are this Nicholas Rossi. However, you have a good reason that you were claiming to be Arthur Knight this whole time. You had been threatened. Your past work against the foster care system had made you a target. But no, you cannot say who it is. In August 2025, a jury finds you guilty. Again, in September of 2025, another jury finds you guilty. On October 20th, 2025, you are sentenced to 5 years to life. There is more coming in the next month. But your darling wife, who posted your obituary, still sends you money. So you have that going for you.